All right, I show 2 o'clock on my watch, so I assume it's 2 o'clock on yours. My name is MG Govia. I'm the Education Outreach Liaison for Oki 811. And today our topic is going to be about updating tickets. When you update a locate request, there's going to be two options for you, remarking or stating those tickets. So we're going to do a deep dive on what is the best option for you, what the operator's responsibility is, what the excavator's information that they're providing to us is, and kind of go from there. If you haven't used the Teams for webinars before, first of all, know that the chat is open for you. I'm flying solo, but you can use the chat to ask any questions. Your question probably isn't the only person who thinks of it, so feel free to throw it out there so we can answer it before everybody. For those who weren't on before 2 o'clock, today's topic is pretty narrow, so I don't expect us to take more than 20 to 30 minutes at most on it. So feel free to ask any questions that you may have. So again, my name is MG Govia, Education Outreach Liaison, and let's get started. With the process, we have to kind of back up to the entire process to understand how updates fall into that role. So it all begins by the excavator contacting OK811. You'll notice that we use the word contact instead of phone calls because over 75% of all locate requests are actually submitted through our website. So that contact is either going to be done by our website or a phone call. That notice should be no less than 48 hours, excluding the date of notification, weekends, and legal holidays before that excavation begins. And then the locate request is going to be generated. Our staff is going to process that request. They're going to map out a dig site that will let us know what facility operators are in that area. And then we're going to give a ticket number to the excavator as their record and their communication method to see the status of response. We're going to send those locate requests out to the member companies. The member companies are those facility operators who have assets in the area that the digging is going to take place. And an average of 6 members are notified per ticket. Little nugget of information, we did over 1.2 million tickets last year. That means over 7 million companies respond, well, not 7 million different companies, but 7 million times a company received a locate request to go and mark their lines last year. So outstanding use of 811, the utilization was there. And this is just step one of keeping everybody safe, and very proud of OK 811 and being able to process that many. Once the member receives those locate requests, there's responsible to respond to that request prior to the work to begin date and time. The way that the work to begin date and time is earlier I mentioned you're to give no less than 48 hours, excluding data notification, weekends, and holidays. But you can also give up to 14 calendar days notice. So if I call it on a Monday, that with no holidays involved, the earliest I could dig is Thursday, right? Monday wouldn't count. Tuesday and Wednesday would be the 48 hours, and Thursday would be the work to begin date and time. However, if I'm calling on a Monday and I say I'm not digging until Saturday at noon, then my work to begin date and time would be Saturday at noon. And somebody just freaked out because I said Saturday, right? Yes, excavators work on the weekend. As long as the business hours, the 48 hours, are included notification, then they can work on Saturday after the 48 hours of response time has passed. Then they're going to come out and then we're going to mark using APAWA uniform color code. They're going to throw down paint and flags, maybe states, to communicate where the utilities should be found by hand digging and being able to locate it. They're going to communicate with the excavator using positive response. In Oklahoma, mandatory positive response has been around for about 1.5 years now. The excavator will be able to log in to the locate request and be able to see who's there or see what responses have been there. And that response could be all clear. The response could be been there and marked it. It could be any additional information necessary, such as access issues, things of that nature. So be sure to check the positive response. And then the excavator is going to confirm that positive response and then verify where those utilities are before doing any heavy equipment. So they're going to wait that required time before digging. If I say I'm not digging till Saturday at noon, If I dig at Saturday at 10 a.m. and damages occur, I did not have a valid locate request when that damage occurred, right? So you want to make sure you're always waiting until the where to begin date and time. Then you're going to look at pause response, make sure that everybody has responded with a, a status that shows me that the ticket is closed. If there's anybody who has not responded or has access issues or anything like that, then another ticket may be necessary, whether it's a second notice or an update, depending on what the situation is. And if everybody has responded and you're good to go, then you'll dig test holes to identify and properly protect that underground facility. This step I always call it discovery of the 3Ds, right? Because you're going to be looking at for the depth, the direction, and distance of those underground facilities in your work area. A couple things to remember about the process. Everybody on here probably remembers that private lines are not marked by through this process. A11 is a member-funded nonprofit, and our members are companies that own and maintain underground facilities, and that's what they're marking. So if it's propane lines, sprinkler systems, French drains, things of that nature, that is obviously the property owner's lines. Those are private, right? Nobody owns that but the property owner. In addition to that, lines that are turned over to the property owner, such as additional electric runs, outdoor gas for an outdoor kitchen, anything beyond the meter, those things oftentimes will not be marked through the A11 process. So keep that in mind if you do have some projects that are taking place on private property. Also, OK 811 is not the locating company. We are a notification center, and that's our role in addition to marketing, education, things of that nature. But as far as the ones with the physical paint and plaques, those companies will either be a third party partner with companies like USIC, Gridhawk, LionQuest, David Stitch, all these companies that may do some locating, or it'll be the company themselves, like Oklahoma Natural Gas or Enbridge or whatever the facility operator that does their in-house locating. So a couple things to keep in mind there. So why is the update process another step? Why do we set up either extend or remark? Well, before we can dive into the updates, we need to remind you of what our tickets do, right? And the first thing that a ticket does is just let the member companies know that digging is going to take place. And so that's a normal or compliant, because you're compliant with the law, that you're notifying that that you're going to be doing the excavation and you're giving the proper amount of notice. A non-compliant locate request is less than the required notice and not a valid locate request. One thing that you must remember with non-compliant locate requests is they never become compliant. So hypothetical, a dad gives us a call on a Thursday, right? And he plans on putting up a basketball goal for his kids on Saturday. So he gives us a call on Thursday. We let him know that that isn't enough time because that would only be 24 hours notice. So he says, well, I'm going to do it anyway. We go ahead and take down the information. We find out who it is, where he's going to be digging, all that information, and we create a locate request that goes out. However, it's still not compliant. If that dad digs on Saturday and damages occur, that individual is responsible for those damages because he didn't give the member companies the proper amount of notice before digging, and they didn't have an opportunity to protect those underground lines. So you'll always want to have a valid locate request. So in this hypothetical, let's assume dad gives us a call. We let him know it can't, won't be a valid locate request. He goes and talks to his wife. The wife lets him know, hey, let's just wait until Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. Who cares? It's a few more days. So dad says, you know what? You're right. So he waits until later on. And when he digs on Wednesday, if damages occur, it would still be his responsibility because he never put in a valid locate request. The reason I point that out is because a non-compliant locate request never becomes valid. So if you can wait to 3 business days, that is always best. So always put in a normal or compliant locate request if possible. Waiting doesn't make a non-compliant compliant. It needs to be that way from the beginning. Okay, so those are the two normal tickets that are put in pretty often. Then there's emergency requests. An emergency is a justifiable non-compliant, if you will. It is an unavoidable situation that endangers life, health, or property, and digging must take place. You'll want to give as much time as possible. I know that sounds backwards, but what we're asking for is much time as possible so that the member companies can get out and help you stay safe during that immediate excavation. If you are waiting on a part or a piece of equipment or a skilled worker, and that's going to take 4, 6, 8 tomorrow morning, whatever the case may be, go ahead and give us as much time as possible. What that will do is it'll give those smaller municipalities, rural water systems, things of that nature that may not have the resources that a large locating company has, more time to get to you and help protect everybody. Because there is an unavoidable situation that endangers life, health, or property, it is the exception to the 48 hours notice. However, it is not a green light. Damages that occur where due diligence wasn't practiced, in other words, no hand digging, you just came in with heavy equipment, things of that nature, those damages would still be the responsibility of the excavator. So you still want to dig with care, hand dig, look for visual indicators, wait if you can, those things, right? A second or third notice is when a member company did not respond prior to the work to begin date and time. So earlier I called in on Monday. I said I'm not going to dig until Saturday at noon. It's Saturday at 12:30. I noticed that XYZ telecommunication company hasn't been out yet. I'm going to call and put in a second notice. What that second notice does is two things. One, COIA, of course, right? And then two, it notifies that company, it escalates it to a second notice. They should treat that similar to an emergency locate request and should respond to it the same day if I'm on site. I also have the ability to say, hey, you know what, they weren't there. I'm going to wait till tomorrow or I'm going to wait till Monday and give them additional time if I would like. But it is a second notice saying that the locate wasn't completed in the first 3 business days. A couple of things to keep in mind with this is it is an escalation ticket. It does not reset or extend out the life of the ticket. The life of the ticket from the date that the work to begin date and time is 14 calendar days. Okay. So if I put in a second notice, it doesn't give me another 14 or another day or another 2 days. It still has the same work to begin date and time and the same expiration date. Demolition tickets, if you're putting those in, it's a 2-step notification that can be done in one website visit. You're giving a 7 business days notice so that utilities can disengage from that structure and make sure that you've met all local code requirements and demolition permits. And then it's only for the intent of bringing down a structure. Then 3 business days before, we will schedule out a locate request that will go in and that will take care of any excavation may take place, all the heavy equipment, things of that nature, so that the utilities that are underground can be marked by the member companies. And of course, damage reports, those are mandatory. Report damages to lines, exposure to lines, damaged signs or pedestals, anything like that. Anything that will help our utility companies prevent damage or be aware of damages that have already occurred. In Oklahoma, the way the mandatory part reads is all parties must report damage to Okie 811 as well as the operator that owns and operates that underground facility. So if you have any questions about that, shoot me a message or an email, but I'm hoping damage reports are pretty straightforward. All right, so we talked about the normal or compliant locate request and everybody gets that. Yeah, I need to give 3 business days notice, that way I can dig, but what if my project is going to take longer than 14 calendar days? Well, when you come back to lengthen the time of your ticket or extend out that valid date of your tickets, you're going to have 2 options. So as I stated earlier, locate request is good for 14 calendar days from the work to begin date that is stated on the request. So if I say Saturday is when I'm going to begin working, then I have 14 calendar days from Saturday till 2 weeks Friday, I believe, if I could do that in my head right, because Saturday would be day 1. And so when that ends, I do not have a valid locate request to continue working. So if I'm going to continue working beyond that date and time, I need to add an update. And that update ticket is either going to be a remark or an extend. The way the Oklahoma law reads is that the excavator is responsible for maintaining and preserving of markings. If, as an excavator, I have maintained and preserved all those markings and I don't need a facility operator to come out and remark, then that's when I'm going to extend the life of the ticket. All I'm saying is, hey, I've done my part. I've kept all the markings visible. I can safely dig around them. So I'm just extending the life of my ticket. What that will do is once it goes out to the operators will see that the excavator has stated that all markings have been preserved and maintained and a remark is not necessary. Then the operators will have the option of coming out there or not. We will obviously we'll never tell an operator to stay home, right? So they're going to have the opportunity to decide if they want to come out and visit the site, remark if they feel that it's necessary. Usually high consequence areas, pipeline companies, electric companies, things like that, they may swing by every single time, no matter what you say. But other companies that are may choose that, hey, that they've talked with that excavator a couple of those updates already. They've trusted in them, and they don't need to go out there and remark, and they'll save the time and labor of going out there to remark. So they'll close it out with a statement that says, hey, this excavator said it was good. We don't need to go out there and remark. The ticket's good for another 14 days. However, if the excavator did not preserve the markings and something got away from them, they should stop working according to the law, because if damages happen where facilities are not marked, then it would be the liability of the excavator. So you'll want to stop working and have that remark done. The reason that remarking on an updated ticket works so well is because if you call in prior to the expiration of your ticket, that remark should happen and your ticket should have that overlap, as long as you're digging in the right area, right? So keep that in mind with the responsibility of the maintaining and preserving of markings. So remark if lines have been or markings have been washed away. Extend if all lines have been or markings have been preserved and maintained. Another thing to keep in mind with this is it's all or nothing. If one company's markings are washed away, we're going to do a remark for all facility operators to be notified. We won't go AT&T needs to remark and Oklahoma Natural Gas does not. We're going to assume if one got away, all of them needs to be rolled out to verify the site. So keep that in mind. It's important. What this does is it helps alleviate the cost, also makes locators more on task, hopefully getting to tickets that are necessary for remarking and clean up the waste in the system. A couple more things about the remark stuff. Like I said earlier, that it's going to be one or the other, remark or extend. The first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a pop-up that comes up on the website that says, will you be digging within the next 14 calendar days? And if you select no, then another pop-up will come up and say, please come back when you will be digging within 14 days to update this ticket. What we're trying to do there, obviously, is eliminate a lot of waste. There's no reason for a locator to come out and mark something when your ticket's going to expire before you're going to be digging again, right? And so it's just to help that out. To keep this in mind for the excavators who may have office admins or somebody who isn't out in the field putting in locate requests, let them know when you need to pause a locate request. If you're going to be at another location or away from that project for 2 weeks, go ahead and let it pause and then bring it back when you are going to be back out there after 3 business days. So like I said, the facility operators are still required to provide positive response, even if it's an extend ticket. It'll notify you, so be sure to make sure that the positive responses are being read. And then if a update is made and an extend was put in, say the excavator said, hey, I've done a good job, I've preserved and maintained all my markings, I'm putting in an extend. And then you call us 2 days later and put in a second notice, that second notice will be an update. It will not be processed as a second notice. It will be processed as a remark instead. And what that means is you will not have a valid locate request for 3 business days after that attempt of a second notice after an extend, because the extend let us know that the operators do not need to come back out here. So if a second notice cannot follow an extend ticket type. Hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, please ask. But Remark, operators are coming out and they're flagging and marking. And extend says the excavators have done a good job preserving and maintaining markings. And so a second notice would not be necessary or cannot be processed after an extend ticket. Okay. So now that we've knocked that out, I hope we got that understood. If you do have any questions, do not hesitate to let me know. The next things we're going to talk about with this is pretty much what happens after that. So for everything to take to go smoothly on an excavation site, there's pretty much just 5 steps. And now, oh, hold on, there's a question I was asked. Okay, so there's a question asked about the dad earlier with the basketball goal, and I apologize for getting to it a little late, but it would be easy to answer. If that dad called back regarding the basketball goal and put in a new ticket, would that make it compliant? The short answer is if the dad calls us back and gives 3 business days notice. So let's say in the example, he called on Thursday, planning on digging on Saturday, and then he calls us on Friday saying, hey, my wife talked me into making a compliant locate request. Then the earliest he could dig would be Wednesday, right? Because Friday would be the date of notification. Weekends do not count. Monday and Tuesday, assuming they're not holidays, would be the 48 hours. And then Wednesday would be his first compliant work to begin date and time. Okay. So to have a compliant ticket is a completely separate ticket. We can't upgrade an existing ticket from non-compliant to compliant because a non-compliant will always be non-compliant. We would cancel that request. In other words, let the operators know that another ticket is coming with corrected information. And that corrected information would be the one with the 3 business days notice and the information for that excavator. So good question. So I appreciate that. If anybody else has any questions, shoot them my way. So we've done the process. We've put in our locate request. We remarked or extended depending on when is necessary. But if you couple all that information with the 5 steps to safe excavation, you should have a successful project. And that the 5 steps are simple. It starts with contacting us before you dig. Remember, that's going to be at least 48 hours, including the date of notification, weekends or holidays. Easy way to remember that is 3 business days. You'll always be right with 3 business days instead of worrying about the 48 hours, weekends, and legal holidays. Then you're going to wait that required time, and you're going to confirm the response on all utility operators. Make sure that they did submit a response, whether it's marked, all clear, access issues, what the case may be, so that you can work with them. As an excavator, if you see any clear evidence of a utility, such as above ground markers, manhole covers, utility bots, but there's not any markings for that utility, let us know. That way we can see if maybe it's a utility that's in the area that just hasn't updated their mapping with us. We can still add them manually to a ticket and try to get them that information. So we will ask for some verification, like what are you seeing that implies that COTS communication is there or Oklahoma Natural Gas is there. That isn't on the ticket, so that we can have that information to justify why we're manually adding them. But that way we can get that in front of them and then hopefully get that mapping updated. Also, respect the marks. The approximate location of underground facilities is always going to be 24 inches either side of the markings. So as you're digging down, if you never find it, let us know. Again, it's your responsibility to preserve and maintain markings, but it's also the locator's responsibility to mark it in a way that you can find those utilities by hand digging. If you're unable to find it, we can put in a second notice saying, excavator attempted to find lines, unable to do so. This is a second notice for locators to come out and help that. Of course, you're going to protect those buried utilities during the excavation by exposing, supporting, and protecting them. And then if damages should occur, do not backfill, do not repair, do not operate any of those. What we want you to do is contact the facility owner and us, right? That damage reporting that will be so helpful in future conversations regarding if there's insurance claims or anything like that. So that's pretty much all I got for you. Like I said, today was going to be a pretty quick conversation. Couple things to remind you of: damage prevention in general is a collaborative effort. It takes all of us to understand the importance of 811 and what the beginning of this communication is. For the excavators to stay safe is paramount, and then preventing damage is second, right? We want everybody to come back to work tomorrow. Anything that happens to a utility can be repaired, right? But anything that happens to an excavator may not be something we can come back from. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep the excavator safe. That takes our facility owners and their locators marking properly and understanding the importance of the public awareness. Our excavators understanding that this is more than a required um, inconvenience, right? We want you to trust in the process that after 3 days, lines are going to be marked so that you can dig safely around them. And of course, OK1's part in all of this is the education and outreach, the marketing, processing accurate and easy to understand locate requests, and being the communication hub for all parties involved. And if you don't already, please follow us. Our social media is out there. We have our YouTube channel. We have our podcast called Digging Deep. Our website has plenty of information as well. And you can always reach out to me by just shooting me an email. My email is easy, did not require you to remember my name. You can just email education@ok11.org for any topics, any things that's going on out there in the field, so we can help make damage prevention and a great process here in Oklahoma and keep everyone safe. So I'm not seeing any other questions pop in, which is a good thing. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me after this meeting. I appreciate all of you taking part of your day to be a part of this meeting, and I hope you all have a great day. And thank you for everything you do in keeping Oklahoma safe. Thank you.